Since you're watching this video right now, I'm going to assume that you have a strong desire to learn Spanish. And not only that, you have a strong desire to become fluent in Spanish. But maybe right now you are very frustrated and also very confused because you don't know exactly how to reach this goal. So let's talk about some reasons why you may not be fluent in Spanish right now. Insecurities and fear are a very dangerous duo. So you could have a lot of fear about speaking Spanish, maybe because you don't want to make mistakes when you are speaking. I definitely have had that fear many different times. And you don't want to sound stupid when you are speaking Spanish, or maybe you just have an insecurity with how you sound when you speak Spanish. You don't like the sound of your accent when you are speaking Spanish. You think it sounds very strange and very broken. And that makes you feel very uncomfortable because you don't want to be criticized by a Spanish speaker. All these insecurities and fear can really give you a negative mentality, and the more you start to have all these negative thoughts, the less that you actually want to learn Spanish, and you really don't want to work on your pronunciation skills. You don't want to write in Spanish, you don't want to speak Spanish, you don't want to have a conversation with a native Spanish speaker, you don't want to do anything. Lack of consistency is also another big reason why you may not be fluent in Spanish yet. And I'm pretty sure you've heard me say this over and over again, but it is incredibly important for you to be consistent when you are learning Spanish, especially if you're trying to become fluent, because it takes such a long time and it takes a lot of effort. And since this journey is so challenging, it can be really, really easy to say, okay, I don't want to learn Spanish today. I don't want to study anything today. I'll just do it tomorrow. Or I'll do it, in a few days when I feel better. Or I'm going to do it next week. Because I know once you get into that habit of pushing off Spanish day after day, that those days can turn into months, and then those months can even turn into years. For me, after I graduated college and I was done with my Spanish classes, I really did not want to learn anything new and study like a lot, So I was like, oh, I'll study Spanish, later on. And then that later on turned into over 5 months of not learning Spanish at all. I was very comfortable with just kicking the can down the road. Another reason why you may not be fluent in Spanish yet is because you're not immersing yourself in Spanish adequately. Are you only writing in Spanish every single day and not doing anything else? Or are you only reading in Spanish and not doing anything else? You want to make sure that you are tackling all the language skills. So you are writing in Spanish, you are reading in Spanish, you're listening to Spanish, and you are speaking Spanish as well, whether that is to yourself and then also with Spanish speakers. So you can learn a lot more about the Spanish language, and so you can communicate in Spanish a lot more effectively. If you need resources so you can have this more immersive experience, I highly recommend getting my Spanish resource kit. It has over 60 different resources like music, TV shows, and YouTube channels. And don't forget to download your 2 free PDFs, the Spanish Conversation Blueprint and the Spanish Vocabulary Blueprint. Those are also linked down below in the description box. Now, guess what? You actually may be fluent in Spanish already, but your definition of being fluent in Spanish is being perfect. And in my case, that was my definition a few years ago, so I was very critical of myself and I didn't think I was fluent when I actually was. So if you are a perfectionist in that way, you really have to get out of your head that you have to be perfect, right? You have to speak Spanish perfectly, you have to write perfectly, and that you have to understand everything. Oh, I didn't understand that word that they just used. It's perfectly fine. You're not going to understand every little thing when you are communicating in Spanish with a Spanish speaker, or if you are listening to a song, or if you are watching a TV show. So please don't be so hard and critical of yourself. Now, if you know for sure that you are not fluent in Spanish, don't worry, I have many videos on my YouTube channel here where I talk about how you can become fluent in Spanish and how I have become fluent in Spanish. Start with this video here, and thank you very much for watching this video. Also, let me know in the comment section below if you are fluent in Spanish. Nos vemos pronto.